Mavira's courtyard.
Let's go all. You and me.
Waits for prey. Looks like an insect. Bones, blood, yep.
Yeah,
Anine.
that's something I could do.
Finally we get to know what the fuck Anine is. It's a chicken lizard. A large agitated beast looms over you. It is an Anine, a beast of burden. These creatures are normally docile, but this one bares its teeth and snaps at you as you draw near. It rakes the air with its stubby claws. Ah, it has little stubby claws, right. Examine it. Staying out of the biting range, you can see blood around Annie's mouth. It looks like it has been bleeding, or possibly feeding on something. Uh, let's leave it alone for now. Skiadi. And full of... I have no idea what. Skydi. A pale, heavy-set merchant woman stands by an agitated Aline. Her eyes seem to have trouble focusing on you, and when they do, she drops them, her hands nervously adjusting the scarf around her neck. I'm Skydi. If you here to trade? Yeah, there may be something wrong with your Anine. It has blood around its mouth. She pulls her scarf up. I don't need strangers telling me how to take care of my beast, thank you. Do you want to buy something or not? You notice that there are splotches of blood on her scarf. Uh, you have a little something on your scarf, right there under your chin? Try to see under the scarf. I do? Where? The woman pulls the scarf from her neck to look at it, revealing jagged, still bleeding teeth marks on her throat. She sees you staring at them and realizes she's been duped. Dirty trickster! She snarls as she pulls the scarf tight again. Go try your games on someone else. Skydi glances at her Anine, eyes wide, like a child with a guilty conscience. You recall the Anine's bloody mouth and odd behavior, and it occurs to you that its teeth match the size and pattern of the bite marks on her neck. But Anine are herbivores, and as far as you know, they can't digest meat or blood. Skady watches her eyes away, wrenches her eyes away from her Anine, closes them tightly, and begins to shake her head rapidly back and forth, muttering incoherently. Her whispers sound more like buzzing and hissing than words. Uh, I can help, just tell me what's happening to you. Okay, this is a hard one. I'll take guaranteed success. It's rare that we even get to spend points. Loading. My Anine, it feeds on me, suckles the blood from my neck. For some reason I can't... No, I don't want to make it stop. She shakes her head, trying to clear it. But that's a lie. I do want it to stop. Her voice quivers in terror. I think the bloom did this to my Anine and to me, tied us together somehow. It's in our head. I can hear it whispering to me. Okay. Just give in to it? Why would I say that? Uh, I don't dislike that type of an option to basically just let the bloom have its way, but the problem I have with these options is you never know what you're basically aiming at there, and that's the bigger problem. I'd like to basically see what the fuck am I aiming at here with this dialogue option. Am I just being a dick for no particular reason, or is there some kind of a goal I'm aiming for? Bite the bloom, Skivy. Concentrate on the whispers and drown them out. Push them from your mind. Yeah, I'll take a guaranteed success again. I don't want to fail. No, no. I don't know if we get another chance or what the consequence is. You can see the woman struggle. Her whole body shakes. You faintly hear a whispering cacophony of sound, chittering and buzzing, lashing out in rage as it fights back. Then it falls silent. The merchant's eyes soften and focus. She shakes her head as if clearing it. I did it! The voices are gone! The Anine also shakes its head, snorts and settles back on its haunches. The merchant turns to you with clearer eyes. Thank you. I don't know what was wrong with me. The bloom got in my head and changed my Anine too. But I think she's back to her old self now. She hesitates and nods. You come back any time you like. I'll give you a discount. It's the least I can do. What exactly do you sell? Tell me about the bloom. No, how did the bloom get into your head? I don't know. The bloom does strange things to you if you stay here long enough. I drank water from that well. This green disgusting shit. That might have something to do with it, or maybe not. But I'm not letting her drink it again. That's for sure. No shit. How's your Anine? Shaken, but better. And now that I know this can happen, I won't risk it happening again. We're getting out of the bloom as soon as I sell my stock, and we're not coming back. Okay, tell me about the bloom. I travel through here a lot, but maybe not after this. Too dangerous, no matter what the Memovirus guards say about her keeping it safe. She shrugs. Good chance for profit, though. Bloom folk need outside goods, and you can find unique things here. Things from other places. Still, once bitten, twice shy, if you know what I mean. I'm gone as soon as I sell the last of my stock. Okay, let's see what you've got. Show me what you've got. A lot of shit, some spray flesh. We probably could use more of that. We're not exactly in short supply, and she can now cast healing spells. So if I'd probably buy the more powerful ones. Crap. Needler. Oh, this is actually a quite good one. Medium does chemical damage. On critical hits confers immobilized. We don't really have a ranged weapon user though. Heals 30 points of health on all allies in range of target point. Very nice, very nice. That would be 40 with Rin. Heals 20 points of health and removes all negative petals from all allies in range. Also somewhat cheaper. Clockwork Strut. +1 training level in quick fingers, plus 30% evasion. Negative on armor and training level in endurance. Be good on him if we could but you would definitely need to get rid of the negatives. This is not good without that. Plus 30% evasion would be great on him because he attracts enemy targets. It's definitely an item I want, but the negative is pretty bad. It's fairly expensive too, so I'm not buying it now. Talisman of the Gentle Hierophant. Max effort, +1 on all not tips it. Clockwork Strut, bonded item artifact. Yeah, this is something I am interested in. This array of oiled clockwork slats bonded with the user's limbs, accelerating their movements but leaving their overstretched muscles far more prone to injury. I hope she doesn't just disappear here. But it wouldn't be the worst thing ever if that happened. So what is this shit?
Yes.
This pool is filled with yellowish water that falls from above. The surrounding bloom flesh is wet with hand and footprints, suggesting that this is a common place for bloom dwellers to wash and drink. Yeah, and people wonder why this place has long-term effects on some people. Look, look. Collect some of the fluid. Why would I collect it? You find a small discarded flask at the edge of the well and fill it with the yellowish fluid. Confers bloom juiced. Eerie whispers will fill your mind, hinting at countless secrets to uncover. Active until next sleep, so we can hear the bloom talking to us. This flask contains a yellowish fluid that you collected from a well in the bloom. It has a greasy texture and faintly sour odor. When you take a sniff, you can hear the whispering voices of the bloom in your mind. Yeah, risky click there to use this. Still might be interesting. We could drink it now though, so I get the feeling this might be we can use it on someone else. Or somewhere else. Look into the pool. The pool extends downward like a circular shaft of a well. If it has a bottom, you can't see it from here. In the depths of the pool, your sharp eyes catch sight of a long, worm-like shape. It appears to be caught on a projection of bloom flesh, and it's wriggling helplessly about. Who wants to go diving? Dive into the pool and try to retrieve the wriggling object. Yeah, it's you. It's always you. Challenges are starting to be quite a bit harder here. So now the extra skill focuses would actually be worth something. I'll take a guaranteed success. I doubt we'll get multiple chances of this. And I can waste a point anyway. You plunge into the murky fluid. As you dive deeper, you see that the shaft opens into a much larger cavity. At the edge of the larger space, you reach the wriggling shape you saw from above and struggle to untangle it from a bony knot of bloom flesh. Finally, it slips free, and you swim for the surface, reaching the top just before you run out of air. In the light of the courtyard, you see that the wriggling object is some sort of a bloated worm, its skin continually shifting from one material to another, silvery metal to pliable synth to leathery scales to other materials you can't identify. It seems to be drawn to your exposed flesh, and it would likely fasten itself to your arm or leg if you allow it to do so. It's a warding worm. Active for an entire crisis. Plus 6 armor, plus 3 resistance. That's quite heavy. Pretty much something we have around those protection levels. So it would double armor, double resistance for Eredis, for example. The skin of this bloated worm is continually shifting. This would cause your... okay. It seems to be drawn to your exposed flesh, and it will fasten itself to your arm or leg if you allow it to do so. This would cause your skin to take on the same shifting properties as the worm, which will provide you with some additional protection. However, symbiotes like this creature rarely live for long, so the effect will be short-lived. But that's a good protection. Very nice. Can I use it on someone else, or is it only on sale? I can't be the one using this. Tybier's thing is evasion, not tanking. If I get more evasion to him, we can raise his evasion to over 100%. Heritage doesn't have that luxury. Neither do I. In a tough fight, having an armor larger than 10 wouldn't be that big of a deal. Right. A lot of new stuff here.
Here comes the Boredom Slayer.
Waits for prey. A metal construct stands before you, silent and still. Its armor is pitted and ancient, spiked with metal thorns. Instead of arms, the construct has long killing blades, sharpened to a gleaming edge. At first you aren't sure if this thing is still alive, but as you step closer, you can hear faint hisses and whirs from inside its armor. So it is a robot, basically. Who are you? The construct stirs, and a voice emanates from somewhere in its depths. It has a hollow, empty sound as if it speaks from a vast cavern underground. I am a soldier, a predator. My names are as numerous as the wars in which I have fought. But those wars are finished now, and I have left my names behind. Surely you remember some of them. Some. I remember all my names. Exanarch Series 14. Genshiro Mark 10. When I was bodyguard to Boss Tulehlo, he called me his barber of flesh, and made me a boogeyman, feared and hated in every nation he conquered. The construct says nothing after that, but the hisses and whirs inside its armor make a great deal of noise for what seems a long time. Who created you? I do not know, nor have I ever known. They culled all records of themselves from our minds. I only remember those for whom I fought, and there have been many such masters over many long millennia of service. For a time, I believe, my siblings and I slept, did not know for how long. Then we were awakened by new masters, the Taban. We fought for them until they were no more. You fought for the Taban. What do you remember about them? Much. They ruled this land as warlords before the building of Sagus Cliffs. They were slaves to an edifice known as the Underspine, yet they were its masters as well. I do not know where they came from or who they were before they rose to power, for those things happened before they awakened me. I remember this too. They held single combat as the highest virtue, revealing the quality of one's soul. They believed that we had powerful souls, my siblings and I, for none of them could defeat us alone. They fought on two-legged beasts, brandishing weapons of another age, unearthed from a great hoards beneath the ground. That is also where they found me and my siblings. They awakened us, spoke the proper words, so we killed on their command. What happened to them? The construct's blade arms twitched convulsively. A vast explosion buried the Underspine and their city, and most of my siblings as well. The remaining Tabath were hunted and slain by those they had ruled and enslaved, and I was left alone, save for a few of my kind. Okay. What exactly are you doing here? Waiting. The word is hollow and cold. For those who are strong and feared, for the predators who walk the bloom. They come here at times to challenge me. If I prove myself to be a predator above all others, I believe that the bloom tongues will catch my scent. The clicks and hisses from inside the construct's armor suddenly go quiet. I wish to be devoured by the bloom. Have you not seen those who have passed through the gullet of the bloom? Every trace of who they were has been stripped from them. They are freed from the trappings of memory and self, reborn. Killing powerful predators makes you more appetizing to the bloom. So I believe. The construct is silent for a moment as if considering. I have observed the patterns of its hunger over many feeding cycles. Always it is those who prey on others who draw the attention of the bloom tongues. The greater the predator, the more powerful their victims, the more the bloom desires them. Construct's voice becomes less hollow, higher pitched and more grating. And I have killed many, so many. I have torn men and beasts asunder, left their bones and entrails to putrefy as an offering to the bloom tongues, and still it will not devour me. Why does it wait? I cannot know. Why do you crave rebirth? How many years have you lived? Only a few, judging by the firmness of your flesh. In that time, what horrors have you witnessed or perpetrated? Do they slip into your mind in unguarded moments? Perhaps they do. Whatever horrors you have seen, multiply them by 1,000, 100,000, across a vast grinding millennium of wars. Now imagine that you cannot forget, cannot even distract yourself with other memories. Do you know what I remember? Only those things that would make me a better killer. Every severed limb, every gout of heart's blood, every cruel execution before a cheering crowd. All else is lost, for that is how my creators fashioned my brain. That is why I crave rebirth and forgetfulness. You claim to be troubled by the violent things you've seen and done, but you're a killing machine. Why should those things bother you? A long moment passes before the construct speaks. I have pondered that question for all the years since I awoke in your world, and also during the long eons of my sleep. For centuries I felt no such revulsion at the memories of my past. But over time the horror grew in my mind, and in the minds of all my brethren. The construct pauses again as if considering its next words. I have come to believe that our creators intended this. Perhaps they understood the terrors we could visit upon the world, and this was their way of ensuring that we would not endure forever. If our foes did not destroy us, then we would be driven to destroy ourselves. I haven't met anyone who's been eaten by the bloom and lived. Yeah, but I haven't actually met anyone who's been eaten by the bloom either. Walk the innards of this city monster for long enough and you will meet them. A series of light flash in quick succession on one side of the construct's faceplate. Even now I can taste the transdimensional footfalls of one such man. You may find him in the vast interior space beyond the arterial opening there. The construct gestures with one bladed arm to its right. Once he possessed a name that was well known in this place, before it was stolen by another. Now he walks alone, forgotten and without fear. We can challenge him to a combat. What do we have to gain in that? If I lose, I don't gain anything. If I win, I might become a target for the boom. I think this is a thing where we want to keep this option in mind, but don't want to engage in it at the moment. What are all these bones and armor on the ground? Detritus of beasts and men, it is all that remains of those who sought to best me. Okay. What do you know about Dracogen? He is a predator of sorts, but subtler than most. I have observed him as one hunter watches another from afar, but I cannot fathom what he truly wants. What he seems is not all that he is. Do you mean that Dracogen isn't all that he seems? No. What he seems is not all he is. I have observed him as one hunter watches another from afar, but I cannot fathom what he truly wants. What he seems is not all that he is. What's the difference? He is more than he seems. No. The hollow voice is sharper and somewhat more dangerous. The words I spoke were exactly what I meant. What he seems is not all that he is. I would assume that what he seems is exactly what he is, but he's much more than that. Saying he isn't all that he seems would imply that what we see is somehow false. But it's not. He is exactly how he seems, but he's also much more than that. Why don't you challenge him to combat? The construct's head turns to Dragogen's direction, even though the grey-skinned man is not actually visible from here. Obscured as he is by the crashed cantina, you sense that the construct's eyes can see him plainly. For a long moment you hear a series of whirring and humming sounds from inside the construct's head, as if the creature is considering your words. Then, at long last, it turns its head back to you. No. Even I would not dare. The words are firm, with a note of finality. So, we can only challenge him. I want you to kill me. Okay, that's a way to get to the construct. I have no reason to go there now.
To action!
Vast interior. Don't see I can do anything here at the moment.
Let's go.
Yeah. This is like a city within the Sega city.
Why, of course.
Now, the corpse of an insect of gigantic proportions lies here. On closer inspection, you see that it appears to be in the midst of getting absorbed into the wall. Right. To Little Nihilish. To trade post.
Sure.
Main quest is trade post. But we have to go into another world to do the main quest, so finding the trade post itself isn't mean, it doesn't mean
Let's
anything.
go all, you and me.
Varsilin, human merchant, Griseler.
Yes.
Mechanical legs. The path suddenly ends here, interrupted by an enormous fanged mouth.
Alright, here I go.
The two merchants turn toward you. One is a heavy-set human with a large head and a wide bony face. Other is a particularly thin and sickly-looking Vargillan. Its head crest is decorated with symbols that are unknown to you. Both are dressed in rich clothing. I hope you weren't planning to visit the Ascension, friend, says the human, whose face is set in a permanent frown. The only road was in there. He gestures toward the massive jaw that has closed over the far end of the platform. What happened here? As we approach, the entrance grows teeth, says the emaciated Vargillan. It speaks with a strange, halting accent, as if the truth is not its native tongue. Her teeth get big and turn into a great jaw. Down it comes, swift and cruel. All this happens fast, in time it takes to walk 5 steps. The human grimaces. The bloom's good for 3 things, friend. Farting up smoke to burn our eyes, pissing foul water for us to drink, and eating whoever and whatever it likes. So you were headed for the trade post. Where else? The Ascension has its own perils, but it's blessed with a bounty of useful things, unlike this place. Try getting anyone to pay for a hunk of quivering bloom flesh. The merchant scowls and spits. We trade in crystals from Ascension Place. Good business there. Bad business here. Vargillan attempts to scowl and spit in the same manner as its friend, but it only manages to spray the front of its garment with a bluish fluid from its nose slits. So what are you going to do now? The Gristle man asked us to go with him into depths of the bloom, seek out other mouths, jaws, moors that lead to trade posts. We are not stupid, we say no. Vargillan twists its face into a deep frown in a remarkable imitation of its companion. Clearly it has been practicing. We can suggest they go, suggest they just send the guide, or offer to help them myself. Yeah, I guess you'll just be staying here then. The merchant scowls. Until we have a better plan, or the bloom eats the whole damn platform. He suddenly appears uneasy, as if the mere suggestion of such a thing has made it possible. Well, I'm trying to get to Ascension too. What can you tell me about it? A world made of crystal like this. Vargillan plucks a finger-sized gemstone from its pocket. It seems to quiver of its own accord as if it's alive. All things in Ascension made of crystal, living creatures too. It is a cold and dark place. Sun is too small in the sky. No, we don't venture far from the gate, that's the human. Nobody does, if they're smart. Okay, do you have anything to trade? Not yet. We offer salts and dyes and chemical powders to our contact in the Ascension. It, whatever it is, absorbs what it likes and gives us crystalline artifacts in return. If we ever manage to get there, then I might have something to trade. You could try that flesh merchant on the next platform. He turns to his companion. What's his name again? Sunderman. His name is Sunderman. Bargellan bobs his head each time it speaks the name. 2 men he is, but also one. Okay. Reseller. As you approach, you see 2 well-dressed merchants in heated conversation with a wiry man who is wearing an assortment of odd-looking leathers and hides. Upon seeing you, the wiry fellow shoos the merchants away and turns in your direction. Instead of feet, you notice that he has 2 hand-like appendages, fashioned from metal and synth. Indeed, both of his legs have been replaced by these artificial arms that appear remarkably flexible. Looking for the trade post? The wiry man flashes a lopsided grin and jabs a thumb at the giant, toothy jaw behind him. Used to be in there, till the bloom got hungry and ate it. At least I think that's what happened. Never can tell with this big old sack of guts we call home. So how am I supposed to get to Ascension then? One of the merchants glares at the wiry fellow. That's just what we were asking him. Only way to get to Ascension Gate, and that's through the trade post, just like I said. The wiry man squints at the merchant, as if daring him to push a little further. Surprisingly, the merchant looks away at the fight going out of him. You think you catch a glimpse of fear in the merchant's eyes, but you can't be sure. The wiry man turns back to you. Knowing the bloom like I do, I'll bet that the trade post is still around somewhere. You might find a mall that will take you there if you look hard enough. The bloom never closes off a path for long, but finding it again, that's a whole different story.
Making a note.
Name's Grizzler, by the way. Bloom guide, explorer, and scout. 3 times eaten by the bloom and still intact. Well, mostly. He wiggles the artificial fingers on one of his feet. Where would I go look for a maw? Grizzler purses his lips. I used to be I could answer that question easy enough. I tell you just where to find them and where they lead and what to feed them. But something got the bloom all riled up, and she's opening and closing maws however she likes. He shakes his head disapprovingly as if talking about his own disobedient child. So if I was you, I'd try the darkest corner of this gutbag I could find. Dank and nasty places, that's where moors like to rip themselves into being. The slums are a good place to start. Little Nichlish, Surgeon Slum, foul little holes like that. Tell me more about the slums. Grizzler lets out a long puff of air, and you're fairly certain that his breath is the same color as the fetid smoke emitted by the bloom itself. Certainly it smells near as bad. Well now, he says, rocking back on the heels of his hand feet. From where we are right now, you can find your way to 3 of them. Little Neelish, where all them funny-looking mutants live. Surgeon Slum, where folk go to get their bodies hacked or healed. And the old slave block. He makes a sour face. Folk don't go there at all unless they're Murdens. But Murdens don't really count as folk. Murdens are the human-bird hybrids. Tell me about little Nichilish. Grizzler nods. First of all, it ain't so little. I'd guess it's bigger than the other slums by half. It used to be called something else before the mutants moved in, but nobody remembers the old name. See, the mutants got here through a maw. They used to come and go as they pleased, trading goods from here and there, making all manner of shins. Somebody should have warned them that maws are ordinary beasts. And they never do the same thing for too long. Sure enough, one day it up and closed, and all the mutants on this side got trapped in the balloon. Been stuck here ever since. Funny thing about little Neelish, folk on the outside of the bloom like to pitch their rubbish in here, straight into the nearest tube or sphincter. But no matter where they dump their trash, it all finds its way to little Neelish. Don't know how or why. That's just where the bloom likes to keep it. He smiles fondly, and again you get the sense that he's talking about a much beloved child. So no matter where crap gets dumped, it'll end up there. Might be relevant later on. What about Surgeon Slump? Chrysler brightens. That's where I got fitted with these. He taps the metal and synth arms that double as his legs. A couple of nice fellas helped me out when the boom ate my legs. They were a little odd, I'll admit, and lacking in their social graces. Kept calling me by number rather than my name. Nowadays, the slump is under the protection of a bunch of soldier types, deserters, I hear, from some battle that never ends. Chrysler shakes his head. Imagine that, fighting in an endless battle. Should have thought it through before they signed up, that's what I say. Yeah, these veterans of the war seems to be popping up all over the place. What about the old slave block? Used to be a prison for slaves back in the days of Sheila the Great. They carved it out of the bloom flesh with saws that spat solid light and blades that weren't there at all. Folks say that's where Sheila was said chained up. That's where her legend was born. Wouldn't know it anymore. It's all feathers and filth in there now, ever since the Murders moved in. They're a pack of dirty thieves, and if you get too close to one of them, your thoughts get all staticky. Makes it hard to do just about anything. I hear it's because they talk to each other with their minds, but I guess they can't do it quiet and polite. Okay. At least now we know our options. There's basically at least 5 sections to this Bloom City. I need to know more about moths and how they work. Chrysler squints at you for a moment, as if trying to decide if he trusts you or not. Then he nods. A moth is a door, see? A living door. It's a connection between somewhere in the bloom and another place. This other place might be right around the corner, or it might be in a whole different world. Maybe in a whole different time. Doesn't matter none to the bloom. Only one rule with moths. You feed them what they want, and they open. Trouble is, every moth wants something different. Might be an emotion, or a color, or the blood of one particular fella, or if you're unlucky that day, might be your own 2 legs. Moths are stubborn, every one of them. Until you give them what they want, they'll stay shut. Unless you got a way to cut them open. It's a special kind of weapon to do that, but the bloom don't like it one bit. She'll remember a fellow who cuts open her moths, and things won't go easy for that fella around here. So... that's actually quite interesting. So you don't necessarily have to deal with the bloom shit every time you find a moth, but if you don't work within the rules, you're going to end up paying a price for it. And we have no idea what that price is, so we want to avoid it. You said the bloom is acting strangely. Do you know why? She's hungry for something or someone. I can hear it in her voices, just like when a moth wants to eat somebody. Only this time it's the whole bloom. This sort of thing used to scare me, did? Probably still should. Why is that the wagon's just standing here? You'd better ask these 2 fellows here. He nods at the well-dressed merchant. See, they were supposed to be heading for the Ascension by the old trade post, but then the bloom decided to eat the trade post, and now they're stuck. Keep telling them to look on the bright side. At least they weren't inside the trade post when it got eaten. But they won't hear it. Never seen a couple of fellas so determined to be miserable. Chrysler squints suspiciously at the 2 merchants. Anyway, until they decide what to do next, we're staying put. And since they're paying my wage, I'll do what they tell me. What about you? You called yourself a Bloom guide. That's right. Grizzler flashes up his crooked grin. Ain't nobody around here who knows the Bloom as well as old Grizzler. I hire myself out to fellas like these. He nods toward the two merchants who are standing nearby, and get 'em where they need to go. Course, I'm happy to give advice for free. Can't say I ever get tired of talking about the Bloom, or anything really. You said you were eaten by the Bloom 3 times. Yep. Grizzler beams, obviously proud of his achievement. First time the Bloom ate me, she took my sense of smell and taste. That's fine, I told myself. Now I can eat all them foul-tasting vegetables that folk always said were so good for me. Second time, the Bloom took my ability to feel fear. What did I ever need that for? Just kept me from doing things that make for good stories later. Third time, the Bloom took my legs. She was kind enough to cauterize the stumps, though, so I wouldn't bleed to death. Then I met a couple of fellas over in the slums, and they fitted me up with these. Whistler slaps the synth arms that are now serving as his legs. He leans toward and lowers his voice. Truth is, I'm faster and nimbler now than I ever was. I don't like to tell too many people, or they'd all be clamoring to swap their legs for a pair of arms. Why do you refer to the Bloom as she? Do I? Grizzler's face reddens. It must be because I'm always hearing her voice, like a whispery, jittery sound. Tells me when she's hungry or full, happy or cross. It helps to know that sort of thing when I'm guiding folks through her guts. I wonder, was it the same type of chittering sound I heard when I came from the sanctuary, Castle Sanctuary, to this place? And it seemed like they were sort of trying to even feed me or taste me. It was a mental battle there. You seem rather nonchalant about this place. Well, I've been here a long while, and the Bloom ate my sense of fear, so there's that too. I like to think she's looking out for me. Sure, she takes a little part of me now and then, but life does that to all of us, don't it? Well, maybe not so literally, but you know what I mean. Look at Grizzler's clothes. His garments are rough but reasonably well made, though the material is strange to you. It seems to be a type of leather, but it's thicker and heavier than any leather you've seen, and the color are scabrous and ugly. Whistler catches you looking and he nods. Hand Bloom flesh, tough but strong. Old Sunderman's made these. He waves a hand toward one of the walkways that leads off into the vast interior. Do I have any other questions? No. Very well. Ever need advice about the Bloom? Come talk to me. I'll keep that in mind.
I'm always ready.
2 passageways. This looks like a little untrustworthy,
that's something I could do.
Our first actual area, Old Slave Block, so that's what the Murdens are.
I am the very soul
Walks
of
without fear, looks sort of transparent. Sunderman the Elder, Sunderman the Younger. Sunderman and Sunderman, Bloom flesh and sundries. Tools lie scattered on the workbench along with fragments of leathery Bloom flesh. This rack holds countless tools of the leather worker's trade. Each of these vats is filled with a colored dye, extruded by tiny wriggling creatures that congregate near the bottom.
Absolutely.
Surgeon slump. I don't know it matters too much where we go. An enormous statue of a woman wielding a hammer stands here, its lower half lost to a shadow in the depths of the gloom. What is that?
Let's go.
Shrine of Chila.
Of course.
Sunderman the Younger. This friendly-looking youth is dipping strips of cured bloom flesh in the colored dye. He looks up as you approach, revealing startling yellow eyes. Hello, sir. Are you interested in our wares? They're handcrafted and one of a kind. What do you sell here? You're probably interested in the specialty items and armor we craft from bloom flesh. But we also sell everyday stuff like clothes and building supplies. Everybody buys from us, even those Murdens. Talk to my elder if you want to buy anything. What sort of work are you doing? I'm Sunderman's apprentice. That means I do whatever he tells me, really. Mostly harvesting usable bloom flesh. It's always an adventure, flesh harvesting, though my old elder tells me I'll be going away on a bigger adventure soon. He grins cheerfully. Can't wait. It seems like you know the bloom pretty well. Are there any malls nearby? I know of one for sure. Insurgent Slum. Been there a really long time. I hear there's one in the old slave lot too, but I don't go in there because of the burdens. I can't be sure. Isn't it dangerous to harvest bloom flesh? Not really. People only fear the bloom when they don't understand it. He puffs up his chest. I've lived here all my life and nothing ever happened to me. Oh, but it will, youngster, chuckles the old merchant who stands beside the apprentice. It will. The younger man laughs uncomfortably. You keep saying that, but you won't say when. If I did, you might try to avoid it. Okay. Near a display of goods that all appear to be made of bloom flesh, either tanned, beaten, carved, or cured, stands an old man who looks fairly tanned, beaten, carved, and cured himself. He also has startling yellow eyes, just like his apprentice. Hello, admiring my stock? You won't find anything else like it, not even here in the bloom, all handcrafted and one of a kind. Questions? Who wouldn't, when confronted with such an unusual merchandise, ask away? Yeah, I couldn't help notice but that you and your apprentice look very much alike. Well spotted, well spotted. He grins widely and a twinkle in his eye. And why would you speculate that is, sir? Well, he's probably your son. I think he's your cousin. Your features are nearly identical, as if you're the same person. When time is not simple in this world, I think he is you. Yeah, even time is not simple in this world. I think he is you. Ah, well done. He claps you on the back. Not many people manage to figure that one out. Let me tell you what happened, or will happen if you like. One day soon, my younger self will be walking along when the bloom will open a maw beneath him, and he'll tumble into another world, years in the past. Or maybe their journey to the past will be when he tries to come back. Whatever the case, it'll take him many decades and worlds to travel back here. He smiles wistfully. I envy him the experiences he will have, but thank him for the memories. Doesn't knowing what will happen change the future? He frowns puzzled. Why? I know what was coming, but it hasn't changed my past. Well, it sounds like a dangerous journey. Shouldn't you warn yourself? I did, but I didn't listen. He smiles affectionately at his younger self. Besides, when I think about all the stories I filled my head with, it's hard to remember exactly what I said when the big day is. He leans in close and whispers, but it's coming soon. Okay. Tell me some of those memories or experiences you had and will have. He looks over at his younger self, who is assiduously not listening. He laughs a little and speaks softly. My journey was to... My first journey was to a desert world where the natives looked like humanoid spiders. It's the best way I know how to describe them. They spoke with their minds, and a combination of colors that danced between their fingers. It was difficult to get them to understand me, but we managed to find a way. I'm lucky they didn't eat me. When I'd gained their trust, I worked with them as a guide and a hunter. I'd flush their prey and they'd snare it with great chemical lattices. But one was always looking at me like he wanted to get a taste of me, and one day he made a move. I ran and found the bloom's maw still open, but time bent, and I came back in the past. He looks at his younger self. The one you want to watch out is Isgilro. Yeah, unpronounceable. Tell me more. Well, when I got back to our world, I didn't know it was the past, right? But no one I knew was alive yet. I went home and met my parents at the age my young self is now. I realized I needed to light out and get my feet under me. And because I've never been enough of an idiot to ignore good advice from my older self, he and his younger self laugh at this. I set my heart on reaching the steadfast. When I came on her, she was... Wait, why'd you stop talking? He laughs ruefully, because I remember how frustrated I was when the old man wouldn't tell me about the beautiful woman who he met. But let me tell you this, she was tall and dark, with eyes that dropped away into eternity. Her voice was the sweetest music, and when she spoke, I had to concentrate to get her meaning, because otherwise I'd drift away on the song. Her form was a delight, and we shared a time that... He breaks off again, blushing. It was the best time of my life. Go on. Not boring your ears up yet, eh? Fine. We spent glorious years together, she and I, but as the time went on, I aged and she stayed radiant. She was an ogre, see, long-lived and wise. Eventually, I told her I had to return to the bloom to teach myself how to live, and that it would take years before I could make it back to her, and I'd be old when I got back. She didn't care, she said. She'd find a way to make me young again and to grant me the span her kind takes for granted. When the boy here heads off on our adventure, why, then I'll go west again and find her. Okay. Tell me more. That's all the stories I can tell you. Right about here is why I tell you that I need to save some surprises for my young self. Sometimes this time stream seems to make things especially easy. What exactly do you sell? Bloom flesh, my friend. Bloom flesh. We craft everything out of it. Clothing, armor, building materials, jerky, you name it. The Bloom cultists in particular love wrapping themselves in bloom flesh. Everybody buys from us, even the Murdens. You might say our business is blooming. He raises his eyebrows at you expectantly. Ha! His apprentice lass. Good one, Sunderman. Thanks, Sunderman, says the older merchant. I liked it myself when I first heard it. Right. What do you know about the Bloom cultists? Got some odd notions, those folks. They worship the bloom as a deity and aren't afraid of being eaten. Crazy, of course, but they're my best customers, so I just smile and nod when they natter on about it. What do you think of the Murdens? Thunderman grimaces. Those hunchbacked beak faces will steal anything they can get their claws on. We sell clothes to them, and because of that, they mostly let us be, but I trust them as far as I can throw them, and I advise you to do likewise. Fair enough. So what exactly do you sell? Blood Globe. 24 mental damage. Demoralized to all characters in range. Active entire crisis, that's interesting. What do you mean active the entire crisis? This glass globe holds a viscous cocktail of pulsating pink and purple auras, muddied by folding layers of putrid decay. This foul brew was harvested from somewhere in the depths of the bloom. Tormented, haunting whispers of the bloom's digested victims still trickle from the object. If the globe was hurled, the sludge would spatter across everyone in a small radius. Any persons struck by the sludge would experience the same mental torments as the hapless victims of the bloom, whose dissipating minds are still contained in the syrupy muck. So what they mean is the demoralized effect will last the entire crisis. I was thinking, would it be a area of effect thing that would basically stay in that area for the entire crisis, so you could potentially block or create narrow points in a fight, so you could defend it better. But no, it's a long-lasting debuff. Speed recovery. Bloom Bone Shard. It's a speed weapon. Yes it is. Light weapon. Massive damage increase through effort. On critical hits, confer controlled force to fight for the caster's side. Interesting. Metabolism Flesh Bod. +1 speed yeah, this is a bonded item artifact. +1 speed edge, +1 damage per effort applied on esoteric attacks. -2 speed pool. These are very expensive and usually not that needed. Bloom Flesh Armor, medium armor. Not gonna use this. At the start of each turn, a tentacle latches onto a nearby enemy, does 6 points of trans-dimensional damage to the target and heals 6 points on the owner. Yeah, this could be massively useful on a proper combat character, because it doesn't use the biggest problem in really fighting is the mobility action limit you have, so this would heal you constantly without having to spend anything. The damage it does is insignificant. You wouldn't take it for the damage. Yep, I'll skip all this crap. Shrine of Chila.
If you're sure it's safe.
I'm inclined to go to the shrine because no one has talked to us about it being a slum or anything.
Fine.
So I think it's just a small area, maybe a structure. Right. Shrine of Great Chila. Cultists. Observant Spec. Ragmin. Bloom Cultists. Yeah, this is a Bloom Cultist area. Word stands across the face of this scroll in a script so tiny you can't quite make it out. Only the title is legible. Chronicles of Chila the Great, Volume 6. What are you? Friend or foe to our god? The whispers aren't clear.
Of course we can help. Right, Al?
Looks like some kind of place for offerings, maybe. It's a it's an inn. Cramped writing loops around the scroll. Chronicles of the Great Sheila, Volume 2. This shelf holds a number of art offerings: a skull, a sealed jar, some candles, a metal cup, and the shriveled remains of a small hairless creature. Rumpled blankets and rags line the floor, exuding a sour, sweaty odor. This is probably where some of the cultists sleep. This polished skull is chipped and pierced in many places. Oddly, it has no teeth, suggesting that it swallowed the prey whole. It's not clear if the items on this table are intended for food preparation or ritual display, or both. Okay, two people basically. Ragmin and Observant Speck.
Don't mind if I do.
We got nothing to talk about.
If
Okay,
you think that's best.
too soon. In a shadowy corner of the shrine lurks an old woman, so tiny and unremarkable that she blends into the gloom. She's been watching you ever since you arrived, following you with bright, intense eyes. You notice that one of her arms is missing at the elbow. Greetings.
The whispers told me you were coming, Casta. They often do when someone they regard as interesting finds their way to the bloom.
Her voice is soft and shifting, as if everything she says is echoed by the chittering voices of the bloom. Suddenly she is at your side, one small hand touching your arm. Her eyes probe yours.
Did you come here with purpose? Do you know what this place is?
You realize that this shrine does feel familiar, as if you, or perhaps the changing god, have been here before. Try to remember. I'll take a guaranteed. No, 95% is good enough. You scan the room, searching for anything that might seem familiar. A metallic gleam catches your eye from a nearby slab of stone. It lies partly buried beneath a motley pile of offerings, but the unusual shape of the metal sparks a memory. The old woman follows your gaze.
He left that as an offering. Your sire did, when he was here.
You can almost feel the weight of the device in your hand. With a sudden, jarring clarity, you see the chamber as it was 40 years past, when the changing god stood before a group of robed bloom cultists, offering the device in trade for information. And in the corner, an elderly woman, bird-like, with shining eyes. This woman you just met, or someone much like her, was at the shrine then too.
He pored over every scroll,
She whispers, half to herself.
wanting to learn how Sheila forged a friendship with the bloom, a bond that imposed no price upon her, or so he thought. And now, here you are, in the shrine of Sheila the Great, Sheila Silverskin, Sheila the Bride of the Hammer, and I am her observant speck.
When the changing god was here, what did he want from the bloom?
To create a portal to another world, a place called the Ascension. He believed that the crystals of that world would save him from death.
So the crystal chamber, crystals are from there. We probably need some kind of item from that place to basically ignite the regrowth of the crystals. Or fasten the process, a catalyst.
So he descended to the bloom's heart and forged a bond of sorts. From that bond a new maw was born. He took your sire to the world he sought.
She purses her lips.
But for every bond the bloom always exacts a price. If it could not feast upon your sire then, it will find a way to devour one of his offspring. More than one, perhaps.
Her eyes glitter. Can you tell me about Sheila?
Stories, as from one speck to the next. So many stories, told by so many tongues, too many to hold in my head, but the bloom remembers, and it whispers in my ear to remind me.
Where did she come from? The speck closes her eyes and cocks her head like a bird's, as if listening to the voices of the bloom. As she begins to speak, the faint jitters and whispers that always underlie her words grow louder, twisting them around in your head and spawning images in your mind's eye.
Look up, up high on the cliffs, a sturdy little house.
The cliffs of Sagus flash before your eyes, crowded with old ramshackle homes. They cling to the rocks like spindly crabs, high above the sea. One of them catches your eye, a pretty little house, freshly painted blue and green, in a solid nook of stone.
A man and a woman dwell inside, a father and a mother. 2 children they have, a girl and a boy.
Now you can see the people too. The girl is tall for her age, robust and strong. Her brother is small, cautious and quick. Keep listening.
One day, the father pulls a treasure from the sea.
You can see the man in a fishing boat hauling a silvery cylinder out of his net, looking at it in wonder.
He brings it home to his family. What shall I do with this artifact, he wonders, for I am a simple man, not a wizard or a sage.
The man glances out the window of his house and sees his 2 children playing in the street.
Artifacts bring trouble, he says to himself, and I have a family to protect. I'll bring this treasure to the boss of the town, and she will thank me for it. So the next day, the man gathers the treasure in a sack and sets out for the manor at the top of the cliffs. His daughter Sheila wants to go with him, but he shakes his head and goes alone. Many weeks pass. The man never returns from the manor on the hill. Sheila asks everyone she knows, but no one has seen her father. One day, just as she and her brother leave their house in the morning, they hear a crash behind them.
In your mind's eye, you can see the pretty little house pulling away from the cliff, its wooden supports snapping like twigs, bursting apart as it falls toward the sea. It strikes you as strange that this house, seemingly kept so much better than its neighbors, should collapse so suddenly.
The children race back along the road, only to find that their house is gone and their mother lies dead among the rocks. As her brother curls up in the street and weeps, Sheila stands beside him, gazing toward the manor at the top of the cliffs. I know you did this, she whispers, and I know what you did to my father. The treasure you took from him is my birthright, and I will have it back.
So that's what drove her. Vengeance?
Not vengeance. The desire to be extraordinary.
The speck's voice is quiet again. The whispers receded, and you sense that these words are truly her own.
Sheila believed that her parents were easy victims because no one knew who they were. If they had been prominent and well known, the boss of Sagas wouldn't have dared to harm them. But they were small and simple folk, so no one cared when they died.
Tell me how Chila found her way to the bloom. Once again the speck cocks her head and closes her eyes. When she speaks, the chitters and whispers of the bloom spark images in your mind, and you can almost see the events she describes.
Look up, up. Two orphans climb the cliffs toward the manor high above.
In your mind's eye, you see a brother and a sister in their late teens as they scale the sheer cliffs of Sagas. Above them, carved from the natural rock, looms a great walled house.
It belongs to a woman, the boss of Sagas, and mistress of the bloom. She who killed their parents and took their birthright for herself. The girl is Chila, tall, broad-shouldered, and flamboyantly dressed, like a glittering gem against the dull stone of the cliffs. The boy is her brother, Shade, slender and quick, cowled in black. Through the unguarded window they climb, slipping into the garden beyond. There at its heart is the artifact, their birthright.
In your mind's eye, Chila and Shade crouch on a ledge. You can see the artifact as they must have, a metallic cylinder fitted into a strange device.
She leans forward, so eager to see what is rightfully hers, but the ground turns slick and she falls, toppling into the garden, close enough to the artifact that she can almost reach, but she's snared in a net of rainbow light.
You can see Chila crumbled under the strange net, trapped, calling for her brother.
Shade watches from the shadows. He makes no move to help. Betrayed,
Hisses the speck.
led into a trap by her twin, but if she couldn't have the artifact, at least she could touch.
The speck's voice strains, and as it does so, you can feel Chila straining, reaching a hand through the net.
As her fingers brush the artifact, it flares with brilliant light, and it's gone. But not gone. Not really. It's part of Chila now, changing her slowly from within. She can sense the change, but she doesn't know what it means. Not yet. Not as they lead her away.
You catch a glimpse of Chila being led in chains from the great house.
She's cast into the bloom as a slave, and there
The speck smiles, softly and warm.
she meets me.
But it wasn't really you, right?
No, not me, not me.
She shakes her head slowly, as if she isn't certain of her own words.
It was another woman called the Speck, my namesake, the insignificant Speck. That's who she was back then.
Okay, tell me what Chila did to warrant such respect.
In the dark, in the bleeding guts of the bloom, a score of young women crouch in a cell carved from the living flesh of the bloom.
You can barely see the girls in your mind's eye, thin and tired, huddled against the fleshy walls bound in chains.
Who they were before doesn't matter. They're slaves now, doomed to labor in the dark. One day someone new is brought to their cell and chained beside a small girl who calls herself the Speck.
The old woman smiles.
This new slave says her name is Chila. Even in chains, she meets the guard's eyes, and they look away. Already the bloom whispers in her ears. Chila places her hands upon its flesh and strikes a bargain. You owe us, Chila whispers to the bloom, for the slaves you've eaten, for the speck's arm that you've devoured. You owe us something in return. The flesh trembles beneath her hand and opens. Beyond is a chamber full of weapons.
You catch a glimpse of Chila passing place, strange armaments to the other girls in her cell.
Sheila picks a glowing hammer for herself, or maybe the bloom does. It fits her hand like it was made for her, and it never leaves her side again. Then we gather together and make our plan to escape. When all of us are ready, Sheila starts hammering on the door to our cell. The guards come running, and we fall upon them, cutting them down, tearing them apart. Then Sheila leads us from our prison, and we pour into the market, gathering more and more slaves to her banner. We kill every master we can find. In the market, we decide to make our stand. Sheila knows that her enemy, the boss of Sagas, the woman who killed her parents and turned her brother against her, can't ignore us. We form up into ragged lines, then we hear them, the roar of the soldiers, the threat of heavy boots getting closer, closer.
Somehow you can hear them too, along with the terrified murmurs of the slaves as they grip their weapons and prepare to fight for their lives.
Noise. Confusion.
The Spec's eyes are still closed, but she staggers back, raising a hand to defend herself against an invisible attack, as if she thinks she is in the midst of battle. You can you can faintly hear the screams and cries, the clank of steel on steel.
I stay by Gila's side when the battle is joined. I try to guard her back, but she is struck, first by an arrow, then by a blade. Whenever they cut her flesh, silver scales grow over the wound, and she keeps on fighting. Gila knows why. When she touched the artifact, her birthright, it became a part of her, changed her, so that she cannot be killed.
She smiles, raises her hammer,
She smiles, raises her hammer, crushes the skull of every soldier who stands against her. A shadow passes over her head. It's her traitorous brother, Shade, soaring on wings of flesh and steel, come to kill her at last. He strikes her once, twice, and again.
Spec's voice goes quiet.
Each time, silver scales grow to cover the wound. Instead of getting weaker, Gila grows stronger. She grabs him by the foot and smashes him into the ground, but instead of killing him, she speaks to him. It's a whisper, and I can't hear what she says, but Shade begins to weep. When she lets him go, he stays on the ground. The battle is won, and the enemy soldiers are running. Sheila goes to face the woman who killed her parents. I leave you with your life, she tells her, but not your name. Get out of here and never come back.
You can almost see the broken woman, a feared warlord only hours before, fleeing alone and in shame from the battle. The Spec pauses and opens her eyes.
That's where the story ends. Our enemy fled, and the bloom was ours. Sage's cliffs was ours. Chila became the first Memovira. We ended the trade in slaves, and Chila ruled Sages and all the lands around for half a century, until the bloom called her to its heart.
So, that's probably the problem with the current Memovira. She knows she's supposed to sacrifice herself to the bloom, call it the heart, but she refuses, so the bloom is causing trouble. She's not keeping up to her end of the deal. What happened to Chila's enemy, the boss of Sagas?
She was forgotten. Some of the slaves said that they followed her, thinking to kill her despite Chila's promise of safe passage. But before they had a chance, she vanished. She escaped to another world, or was eaten by the bloom.
A mischievous smile plays at the old woman's lips.
I prefer to think the latter.
You keep saying we as if you were there. She blinks.
I see the memories as if I was there, as if I was her, the first speck, but I couldn't have been there. It was too long ago.
So the bloom called Sheila to its heart. What does that mean?
Its whispers called her, and she disappeared into the depths. Maybe it took her to another world, or maybe she still lives down there. One day she'll return for her speck. I'm sure of it.
Okay. Do they become part of the bloom? Yeah, it wouldn't have. If it just wanted to eat the Memoviras or her, any mouth would have sufficed. Not the heart. Yeah, we don't know enough about the bloom. I sort of reverted to the. It seems to just eat things, but it also seems to do a lot of other things. It's just that the portals, the mouths, are the what everyone thinks are the important aspects, but we really don't know anything about the bloom, other than it's continually moving toward the sea, so it is a living creature. Seems to be moving towards some kind of a goal. So Chila ended the trade in slaves, but now it's returned.
In a different form, yes. The old slave-holding families bided their time for generations, marrying themselves into the new leading families of freed slaves. They found ways to justify slavery as punishment for the wicked. So it is with the wealthy and powerful. They're more bloom flesh than they'd care to admit, stubborn, enduring, difficult to kill.
Okay, anything new? Is this a place of worship?
Not really. People come to be close to the bloom, because its mind is strong here. They leave offerings,
She wags her stump at the nearby slab.
valuables they've stolen, trophies of their kills, prove that they're hunters, not prey.
Are you a leader or a priestess? She laughs aloud.
Me? Making speeches, punishing the sinful. No, I'm only a speck. They let me stay here, and I tell them stories, that's all.
What sort of people leave offerings?
Bloom calls this most of all, but also guides, scavengers, merchants who fear to lose their precious cargo, travelers from other worlds, and the Membovira before she lost the favor of the Bloom. She'd heap the offering zone with the heads and hands of those she killed. So haughty she was back then, so sure the Bloom loved her and things would never change.
The old woman tisks.
Nothing is forever in the Bloom.
Okay. Does the bloom respond better to thieves and murderers? She shrugs.
Sometimes it pays more attention to them. Whether you want the attention of the Bloom is another question.
Right. So it seems to be aware of everything that goes on around here. But it doesn't really care all that much. So what do the Bloom cultists believe?
That the Bloom is a god. Not a very kind or benevolent one, of course. Some people seek an illusion of safety by redefining the thing that they fear.
Okay. Anything more we can get out of her? Questions about the shrine? No. May I sleep here?
If you don't mind the stink of the moldering blankets, they won't mind you. But hospitality has a price. 45 chins for each guest.
It's a little bit cheaper than sleeping with the other woman. Still fairly expensive. Can I do anything with these?
All right.
A slab of pitted stone sits in the center of the shrine, heaped with a motley display of offerings. The metallic gleam of a device catches your eye again, the mysterious offering left by the changing god. I'm not sure if I want to take them, but I mean they're offering to the bloom and I don't want to piss it off. I don't know if he cares about this. Look more closely at the device that was left by the changing god. Only one end of the device protrudes from underneath some of the offerings. Its sharp edges glint azure in the flickering light of the shrine. You're certain it belongs to the changing god, and you suspect that it is a mirror caster. Do I want to steal it? I'm very interested in what it is. Let's examine the other things. The objects on the slab are a bizarre mixture of trophies left by visitors to the shrine. Many of the offerings appear to be food of the most ghastly nature. Candied eyeballs, amputated fingers and claws in little cakes and pies, and puddings made from other unidentifiable organs, probably all harvested from vanquished foes. You also see broken weapons, severed limbs, and scattering of silver items, little pots, cutlery, buttons, and other discarded scraps of metal. People have obviously been leaving their offerings here for some time, and everything is a jumbled mess. Your sharp eyes catches sight of a tiny bloom tendrils that snake along the surface of the slab, attaching themselves to the offerings. They writhe and undulate as if feeding upon them, yet the offerings bear no physical signs that they are being touched. So, stealing the mirror caster probably isn't gonna work. Can I ask the woman about those? The changing god left a mirror caster on your offering table. May I take it back?
Of course,
A smile spreads across her face.
but that device was a gift, so another gift must be provided in return.
Even as she speaks, you notice tendrils of bloom flesh rising quickly from the floor, and others, even smaller, curling from the surface of the offering slab, fastening themselves around the mirror caster. The old woman closes her eyes, listening to the voices of the bloom.
A weapon. One that can cut open a maw. That's what it wants. A trans-dimensional blade. The fewer of those that are lying around, the better, from the bloom's point of view.
We'll have one. She opens her eyes.
Leave the blade on the offering table, and the bloom will release your sire's device. A fair trade. Very fair.
So, who has the blade? You. Yeah. Impossible blade. You know, it's not trans-dimensional really, but it's relativistic, ignores all resistance. I'm sure it refers to this. It's protected by a trans-dimensional energy field. Yeah, the damage cannot be resisted by anything. I'll certainly will make that trade, but I might still want to use this before I do that. It has to be a very important mirror caster. I'm not walking away from it. I'm very much dialogue and conversation and skill-focused character, so just walking away from
Not
this
ready.
and ignoring it for a sword, no, not happening. Anyway, I'll leave things here. Looks like this is definitely another massive area for new quests, so a lot of dialogue too, a lot of people to talk to. Yeah. Another one. God. Yeah, this is a fairly large area. What is this? This tentacled maw appears to be dead. Its flesh is being reabsorbed into the bloom. The sign reads, "This way to Little Nihilish," in a difficult to understand scroll. There's 3 people here.
Let's go.
Little Nihilish and some kind of structure. I'll talk to these 3 people, leave it at that, see what they are. These 3 humanoids wear intricately carved armor that makes them look like undersea dwellers of legend. Cannot recall having seen the material from which they are shaped either. Though the suits are bulky, their wearers move with a strange and fluid grace. You might have mistaken them for monsters, but their leader is unhelmed and appears human. She has close-cropped hair and angular face, and her jaw is clenched, as if she were subconsciously chewing on a problem. At your approach, she gives you an irritated glance. You address the Jemadar Arachi. Speak what you need or be gone.
Making a note.
Then she reconsiders her words. Ordinary hospitality is ours. Forgive this one. Ordinarily, hospitality is ours. Forgive this one. The maw to our anchorage has closed. She indicates the hideous tentacled mouth that lies dead in the center of the platform. Another way we must find. Have you word of open maws that lead to our station? She lowers her voice. Beseech you even, trapped here with the supplies we purchased for our compatriots. Well, if you want me to help, you'll need to answer some questions. Her jaw unclenches by the smallest fraction. Naturally, this one will seek to provide informative truth. Tell me about your anchorage. All the refuge we have ever known. We wait the ship that will end our mission and take us home. Captain Janur commands us. If you find the moth and speak to her, perhaps she can tell you more. That's not all that helpful. I mean, how do I even know the place you're talking about? How did you come to be trapped here? Well, she already said that. Left the anchorage where our ancestors have served for centuries. Sought resupply as we have so many times before. Upon return, the way was closed. Again she indicates the dead maw at her feet. Worried now that comrades may suffer without us. Okay. Where should I go look for moths? This one hoped you would know. We are strangers here. Buying supplies is all we know, not hunting moths. He looks down at the dead maw on the platform. Here was the maw that led to our anchorage. Here it had been for many years, yet on our return dead. Okay, that's not all that useful. It's another quest for us, right? Marooned on an alien shore. These are the 3 slums. I don't know what that is, but and there was some kind of a thing there, the guy walking back and forth. Yeah, I'll leave things here. We still have plenty of people to talk to, and the walls of this dwelling are covered in papers with various threats and slurs written on them. Yeah, we still have unresolved issues here. At worst, or at best, it's at least a quest or 2 for us. So yeah, we're looking at least a few levels up from the secondary quests alone. Rin is so far behind. At the same time, she got like tier 1 abilities on tier 2. I don't know, maybe she'll flower into something useful, but I feel if something's gonna happen with her, it's gonna happen with the Bloom. We get to travel to alien worlds, or at least talk to someone who might be from where she is.